funds day labor people like we did a couple of weeks ago for the people out at the farm there. In the past, we've had day labor programs to chop wood and all kind of stuff. And it seems like every time we want to start a day labor program, we have all kinds of criteria that just cause it to fail. You know, everything from no driver's license, or not passing a background check, or having on record at court that you owe child support. Well, how are you gonna pay child support if you don't have no opportunity to work and make those payments? So there's a lot of things, and I think it's on your computers what other opportunities are available if we get involved in this. We're not taking no chance. We're not having to come up with any money. If we get selected, great. If we don't, we didn't lose anything, nor did we gain anything, of course. But I just think we would be wise to want to get on board and see where it takes us. That's my comment as a chair. I can't vote on it, but yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
thank you for the information that you disseminated out to the rest of the council. I would be in agreement with this initiative. I think that at this juncture, where the tribe finds itself with the lifting of the temporary moratorium with the Winnebago housing development over there, it would give us some relief in addressing those issues that are now faced with, because because of the way that moratorium is, and our tribal membership and the needs that it creates. I think this could help us. So I would support this.
Kenny, could you repeat what it's, this funding source to set up? And you said three things. To set up for. What this initiative is about.
What's it about?
Yeah, it's,
Enhancing.
what are the three things that you?
Well, I just mentioned three. There's a lot of other things. It's just to enhance the well-being of our reservation. I just mentioned three areas. There's quite a few more that it includes poverty, domestic violence, substance abuse. There's all kinds of opportunities. It's what we need most that we can request out of this grant. Is there any further discussion?
Comment. A lot of this has to be with, a lot of this has to, having Victoria sit on some of these national boards, tribal budget advisory committee, on National Indian Health Board, and some of the other boards that she's involved with. And then if she hadn't been at those meetings, she wouldn't have learned about this. Because of the Spirit Lake tribe, with, you know, they've completed their goals in this initiative, and then so there's going to be an opening for some other tribes, and for her being there at those being at the table in D.C., you know, and then thinking about what we need back here, so, you know, through our name out there. So I think it'd be real beneficial, but, you know, really appreciate her you know, networking and listening to what's going on in those meetings, and try to help the membership back here.
She's hoping that we would take action on this evening so that she can present it while she's in D.C. as a request or as a resolution from the Winnebago tribe.
Move to adopt a resolution.
Seconded.
Motion been made and seconded to adopt resolution 19 dash what, Coley?
202.
202. 02. Is there any further discussion? Is there any objection? Hearing no objection, motion carried. Okay, didn't take long. Land sale, you have 4 packages, or 4 resolutions in front of you. The first one is Elizabeth Smith. She's wanting to sell property in the amount of $23,089.41. That would be resolution 19-203. Is there any discussion? Is there any objection to the oh, that motion ain't even been made yet, so I'm sorry.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay. Corey, motion been made and seconded to adopt resolution 19-203. Any further discussion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, motion passed. Resolution 19-204. Joanne Brown is requesting to sell land in the amount of $25,080.92. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? I'd like to make a comment on her request. She asked that this not be put in the newspaper, but we can't change minutes, and we're responsible for getting minutes to the tribe by way of newspaper. So, I don't know if she's in here, but there's no way we can honor that request. So, it has to be in minutes as the way it was moved. So, I can share that with her. Did I call for the vote? Is there any further discussion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, motion carried. The next one is Tanisha, is that right? Tanisha Whitewater? Did I pronounce that right? Tanisha, requesting to sell her land in the amount of $3,004.04. Is there a motion to approve? Motion to adopt. Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, motion passed. Did I miss one?
Yeah, right after the first one. It's on the back of that page.
Marcellus Smith.
I can't find it in my packet.
Second page, Jim.
The first one?
Back to the second page.
And I don't have it. I'm sorry. Okay, Marcel Smith is wanting to sell her land for $28,839.41. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 2006 or 7?
76. I'll move it.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion passed. Okay, old business. Ken Mallory and Brian Chamberlain have issue with enrollment and the moratorium. I kind of wanted to weigh in on this but I'm gonna have to limit myself to what I can say because I'm chairing a meeting, and I don't think it's proper for me to, as a chair, to put my influence as to how I feel about it. So I just like the rest of the council to weigh in on it and make a decision from there. I have my opinion if somebody would ask me, but otherwise, I kinda can't weigh in on it.
Mr. Chair.
Ryan.
Well, overall, I think it's pretty well established where we stand currently with this situation. A moratorium being in place since roughly 2014, impacting individuals who would become eligible for enrollment under the criteria established by the last secretarial election, which was held in 2009, allowing enrollment applicants to use blood from other tribes with no other specifications other than the fact of showing that other tribes' blood.
Can't hear you.
I don't think these are on.
Sorry about that, audience.
I thought I was gonna be on the agenda tonight, because I submitted a form on Friday. And at the time Teresa was looking for someone to sign off on it, but there was no one around, so I called earlier, and I thought I was gonna be on the agenda for the Nebraska Engineers Association. Surprised at that.
Well, two people, not knowing that, two people requested that it be on the mid-month meeting. Brian requested that it be on the mid-month meeting, and I requested that it be on the mid-month meeting. I didn't know that I would be chairing this meeting. I thought the chairman would be here.
Mary, and I think he misheard you. You're here for an education issue, correct?
Yeah,
Not enrollment.
Oh, you're not talking about enrollment?
no,
Oh, okay.
No, no.
it was about the agenda.
Check.
I knew nothing about you being on the agenda. I knew nothing about that.
Chloe, do you happen to know
What?
about my request to be on the agenda for tonight's meeting? I got it in on Friday.
One, two, okay.
Kenny? I also asked Friday to be on the agenda and I'm not.
How come I get this at my meeting? I know nothing about it. This was given to me yesterday or today, early this morning, and it was put in our boxes today. So I know nothing about that.
I did get a call, or I did call in, and I did speak to the secretary asking to still be on the agenda today though.
I don't know what to say. Other than if you want to wait, we could suspend the rules at the end of the meeting and hear both situations. Would that be okay?
Yeah?
Because I don't think the agenda's gonna be all that long, so it's not like wait for a couple of hours or so. Okay? All right.
Thank you.
Okay. I haven't gotten any response from anybody yet in regards to enrollment, so let me kind of stir the pot here a little bit. Back in 2014, there was three resolutions presented. One was a moratorium on enrollment of adults previously enrolled in another tribe.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Point of order. If you want to excuse yourself, one of the other officers could take over chairing the meeting. You know, as far as chairing that meeting, you're not really supposed to
Well,
kind of.
I'm not weighing in on it, I'm just sharing with the people what's on the agenda.
Okay.
I won't make any vote one way or the other on it unless it were a tie. Okay, in 2014, a resolution was passed, or a moratorium of enrollment on adults previously enrolled in another tribe. At that time, a lot of people with other blood were trying to get on the Winnebago rolls because of benefits mainly. And the flow of it got so bad that they at a later date, April 21st, they made a motion to rescind Resolution 14-63 and establish a moratorium on enrollment of all persons previously enrolled in another tribe. That's what they were going to check on, to see how many people and who they were from other tribes that were trying to get in on a Winnebago tribe. I don't know what the results of that were, but from that they established a moratorium of enrollment on all persons with less than Winnebago blood. This was done on September 3rd of 2014. So 3 resolutions went right down the line. The first one was adults that were enrolled in another tribe. The second was to rescind that motion. And the third was to put a moratorium on any enrollment. Nothing's been done in the last 4 years. It's come up on a couple occasions, but we just keep kicking the can down the road because we seem to think that there are other authorities that can tell us what to do, such as a secretarial resolution, or not secretarial, but a secretarial election. And that's kind of what's caused us from holding back on what we really want to do. So those are the 3 things that are up for discussion today, or this evening. William, you want to come up?
Yes, with this issue going on right now, I mean, you talk about this moratorium and everything, and then, man, I'm pretty sure you guys want it lifted or whatever you guys want to do. But, man, I think, we should wait and stuff, man, until we have a full table here, and then, man, we get rest of the enrollment committee down here. I mean, that's just the way I feel because, right now, you got 2 people missing, and there's 3 of us from the committee that are here. I say that, respectfully, you guys should table this until, we could all come together. Because right now, there's a whole bunch of opinions, man, different opinions out there right now. That's just the way I feel. Because this is a touchy subject. Like that, man, it is. It's really touchy. So, I just say out of respect to you guys, let's just, let's table this. It seems to me, just trying to rush the issue. You know, man, we have to sit down, we have to talk about this. We just can't just say, okay, let's do that, because, you know, you got 3-4 people in favor of, I mean, you know, whatever, you know, man, because I don't know what you guys talk about behind doors, but, I mean, you know, this is a touchy subject.
Mr. Chair. To get back to the point that I was making earlier, can you guys hear? Okay. The reason why I put this on the agenda, aside from what we did at the last meeting, which was taking action to remove the secretarial election, was to begin the discussion process that Billy just mentioned is missing. From my point of view, the issue has been sitting because no one wants to talk about it for various reasons. And obviously, as we saw in the last meeting, yes, it is indeed true that people will have their various opinions about what needs to be established and what can possibly be changed. But the situation that we are in is, one, we've already started the process and should have started the process of moving away from the need for the secretarial election if we want to change our constitution. And that process is a wide and ranging issue that is separated from this now. The remaining issue, from my point of view, is the moratorium itself. The moratorium was not established by a secretarial election. It was established by a action of the table at the time. And as what Kenny and I both illustrated for the record in these last two meetings, those resolutions are clearly stated in what their intents were. And also, so that it can be stated clearly again for the audience and for the record as well, I fully acknowledge that there is sentiment among the tribal, among certain sections or members of the tribal membership who believe that if somebody is eligible to be enrolled in another tribe, then they should be enrolled there and not here. But because of the secretarial elections vague language that was passed in 2009, what we are faced with is people applying to become members of our tribe using the blood of another tribe for a circumstance similar to that. And so the discussion needs to be had, and the discussion needs to begin at some point. And if it's the council's discretion or idea that they want to wait and have a meeting with the committee, I'm for that. But I'm not for not addressing this issue any further. So either one, we move it toward we're having a joint meeting, or we take some type of action to lift the moratorium, because it's been 5 years and no one has discussed it. I think it's plainly clear from my point of view that if we're going to do something with this, then let's do it, because there are 150, minimum of 150 families who will be impacted by this directly because we take no action. Thelma?
Good evening. I'm on the enrollment committee too, and I agree with Billy that this should be tabled. We need to get together and talk. We need to talk about the pros and cons of this. You're talking 150. There's going to be more thousands that's going to get enrolled. Right now, the kids are getting what, $250 clothing allowance. You get more on, it's going to be less. So all these things need to be put on the table. Pros and cons. Is this really going to be beneficial? And I don't think you should just sit here and just decide right now. There's a lot of membership out there that need to know, have their input too, not just right here. I'm sorry, Kenny, but I know you're going off. I know you want your son enrolled. I think this is what it is. And Brian, your children ain't even enrolled here. They're enrolled up in Ho Chunk. But that's for the rest of our other people that are actually enrolled here. And I got own family members who are not on. They didn't make it. But that's some of the things we try to tell our kids. You want to have kids, you want to be enrolled Winnebago, well then find a Winnebago, But I feel for those little kids. But like I said, this needs to be talked out. with more information, pros and cons, not just decide right now.
Barb, Barb, come on up.
Jeannie.
I mean, Jeannie, come on up.
Yeah. I'll make it. I should have. Excuse me, but I got a compressed nerve in my hip, so kind of makes it difficult to walk. The way I think is that the conversation has to start somewhere and sometime. You know, there's nothing wrong with talking. You are our representatives, and we know you're not going to run off and make some kind of crazy decision. And we have to trust you. We have to trust that you're going to do the best for all of us. And whatever, you know, we already been through a secretarial election. And the people did speak already what they wanted. Every voting member had a chance to fill out the form and send it back. And the ones that chose to speak did. And the majority ruled of those that came back. That's why we went the way we did, because that's the way everybody wanted to go. Somebody just didn't sit over there and make it up. Everybody filled out the form, checked it. It was a tribal decision. It wasn't the council, it wasn't a committee. It was every member, every voting member of the tribe. But now we're saying, well, we didn't like the way you did it, so we're going to do it again. You know, that's not how that process is supposed to work. If you give somebody a vote and they vote, and it goes one way and not the other, you don't do it over. That's not how the process works. That's not why you went through a secretarial election. You know, I say that when I vote for the tribal council, the next day after the election, the ones that I voted for aren't sitting there. I don't say, we're going to do it over. We're going to do it over till everybody gets it right the way I want it. You don't do that. That's why it's called an election. You elect. You elect the option or the person. And when I vote, I expect whoever's sitting there to do the best they can. I expect the council members to not yield to pressure of the moment. I expect the council to stand for everybody, not the people that are sitting in here. You know, not just us, but for everybody. And that's what I hope you guys do. You know, I know, some probably won't be sitting here in a couple of weeks. But the issue will still be here. And the conversation has to start. When I'm sitting over there listening, I don't think you're going to make a decision today. I think it's talk time. And, however it goes that way. But, when we made the decision, and I say we because they had forums. There were people at the forums that voted on the blood quantums that they were going to use. They were tribal members. I went, Benny went to every forum, keeping track of what was going on. And a lot of these people, I didn't ever see them at those forums. But we went to every one. We had our input. And everybody did that went to the forum. Got to have a say in the process that we were going to use, that the enrollment was going to use. I think there was, 2 or 3 options that you could pick from. And that's what went out in the secretarial election.
No, that's incorrect.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, I don't remember. I know that when it did go, that there was an explanation of why they were doing it.
Yes.
And it was to meet these guidelines.
Yes.
And we had like 3 or 4 forums. And sometimes there was a lot of people, sometimes there wasn't. But, I know where the options came. When we would meet, the last meeting we had, they gave us options. They had an option sheet of what everybody was saying. And I think Danelle worked it up. And that's how they were going to gauge what the tribe was going to do to beat the clock, to beat the deadline. Because I think someone had figured it out that by like 2025, 2030, we were going to be gone. That the last eligible enrolled members had already been born, if you enroll them at a certain age. And that was when the clock stopped ticking. Because the blood would have been so diluted then. Everybody would be less than a quarter. And they even figured out, like she said, like your kids being enrolled somewhere else, taking their Winnebago blood to Wisconsin, back to Wisconsin, which isn't bad. We're all the same. And that's where we started. So, I don't see why everybody's getting up in arms. Talk. That's how grown up people solve issues, is talking, communicating in a civil manner. There's no reason to get mad and wave your arms around and raise your voice. All you do is just make people mad. You don't solve issues that way. So, looking to you guys for our strength and our compass to do it right. Thank you.
I'd just like to respond to Thelma. It kind of shocked me that you got up and said publicly that I'm just trying to get my son on the rolls. That's not the situation. I just want Annabeth's bloodline corrected. It scares me that there's someone like that on that enrollment that has the feeling that you had about me. I feel sorry for other people that meet that same kind of response that you made about I'm just trying to get my son on. That's not it at all. I just want Annabeth's bloodline corrected.
I did attend some of those forums, and I remember remarking at one point that these actions were taken by other tribes, and maybe that's where we got that notion. But those other tribes were tribes that had really small enrollments, 300 people, so they were trying to increase their enrollment. I don't think we have that problem with 5,000 enrolled members. And, I was just curious as to how that all began. But I brought that up before, and somebody was going to research it, whatever. I don't know if they ever did.
Mr. Chairman, in 2008, a discussion in the tribal council having to deal with some of the babies that would be born into the tribe, and then a lot of them were of mixed heritage, part Santee, part Omaha, part Winnebago, part Hispanic, part Asian, and all of these ethnic groups. And then they were falling between the cracks because even though they were into the health and human service system at different areas throughout the country, we still knew who they were. We still knew who they were related to, and they were placed within that system. And so can you correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, that this is kind of where that discussion started, to assist those newborns to get enrolled, so that we could they would come under ICWA, and we could go to court for them for their benefit. And so, when this was put on the ballot and then it was approved, it came to be that people that were enrolled in the other tribes had more Indian blood of another tribe than Winnebagos. They should stay there, but that was left off the criteria, or how that should be. And so, like you said, they were doing that for the benefits that your tribe offers. And so, and that's kind of, I think, that what pushed the tribe to issue that moratorium, to say this needs to be changed for the benefit of the tribe, for those guys that are, using that loophole to get in there. It should have been discussed, and of course we didn't foresee that people relinquishing from another tribe, and they had almost a half, and then we're enrolling over here just because of their benefits.
a comment.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I may. Once again, we find ourselves discussing this moratorium, and I am appreciative of the concerns that members of this council have in regards to this, and what issues this may bring. And I like the idea that we want to have open discussion in regards to this, because it's something that we need to talk about and collectively come to a decision on how we're going to meet this issue. And there's a number of avenues that we could possibly take. There's a number of different pathways we can go with this. But let us please take the time to discuss this and work this issue out and have a total input of all those involved, so that when the day is done, that everybody is satisfied with what that outcome will be. So I would like to table this for further discussion, so that we can come together collectively and concentrate on what it is we need to do for our members that are here now and those in the future. That's my input on this, Mr. Chair. So I would like to make that motion.
Before you do, Roland, I'll accept your motion as soon as I make this statement, that this has been in discussion for the 4 years I've been on the council. It's just not fair to all them kids and other people that are waiting to get on the roll, that have a right to, if they have Winnebago blood. They should be able to do that. I just feel that putting this aside again for some more discussion is just kicking the can down the road. It's really a simple matter. It don't require a secretarial resolution or election. The government shouldn't be able to tell us who can be members and who can't. That should be our own sovereignty, and we should exercise it. I just really feel that it's a simple matter. If we would, it's not fair that I have to chair this meeting when I have so much input to make, and not to get my son on the roll, but I wish the chairman was here so that I could be even able to vote on the situation. But it's just a simple matter of passing a resolution or making a motion to lift the moratorium and allow children that have Winnebago blood, that are all waiting to get in, to have that opportunity. That's how I feel about it.
Kitty?
Penny?
Any discussion, or was there a second?
Not yet. He hasn't made the motion yet.
You did?
I
You
made
motioned.
that motion.
Motion made already? No.
Back up a minute, okay? Your motion is what, Roland?
I made the motion, Mr. Chair, respectfully to all the council to for further discussion. Let us table this for further discussion. That was my motion, sir.
Okay. Is there a second?
Oh, second for discussion.
Okay, discussion.
Is it open for discussion? Jeannie's right. Her and I did go all to all of those forums up there on the hill. And they had a survey that they passed around at each forum concerning enrollment. And I was always for enrollment. If a newborn was born to a Winnebago and the dad was from another tribe, federally recognized. And I'm for that. Because this issue is an ongoing thing. It still is today. You know, and it was an issue in 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It still is. Why? Because we can't decide. We can't decide on how or what to do concerning enrollment. And I agree with Kenny. No disrespect to Brian, but I agree with Kenny because we don't need a secretary election. Why should the government tell us what to do when we have our own government right here? And most of the people that want their kids enrolled, some come, some don't, depending on what's going on for that day. Like today, there's a football game, and maybe some of them are up there. So we can't always all get together on this issue because of that. Then when you do make a decision, some people get mad. Oh, I got my kids, you know. And what's been going on? They don't know what's going on because they don't come. Why don't they come? Because to me, it seems like, they don't care whether their kids get enrolled or not, because if they did, then they'd be here expressing their concerns. And what Jeannie said, we trust you. All of you sitting here, we trust. That's why you're sitting at this table. We trust you, each and one of you, to make the right decision for the people, not for certain individuals, not for your family, not for your relatives, but for the people. Common sense will help you decide. Throw your bad feelings aside. If you dislike a family because this family that's outside that don't show up and don't talk, maybe you got something against me because my family didn't do something right to one of you. Maybe that's why. But that's not the way that you make a decision. You don't make a decision on hearsay. Your heart should be in the decision that you make for the people. And when I say the people, for yourselves too, because you, each one of you, have a family out there. So your decision is for them also. So I too, again, trust you immensely, all of you, to make the right decision for everybody, each and every one that's sitting here in this room, your tribal members. And the decision that you make is for them and each one of you and your families outside. And I agree, once again, I agree with what Kenny said a little while ago. No disrespect again for Brian for his I think he said we gotta have a secretarial election to eliminate the secretarial election, but we don't, because it don't say that in the Constitution and bylaws that we have to. I know that you all read it and know it by heart. I do, but because that's all I do is read that darn thing to make sure that when I talk to you, I'm saying the right thing. Because when I do stand up here and talk to you, my words come from here. And I have respect for all of you because you are our government. And making the right decision for all of us is all I ask. And don't make your decisions again, like I said, on hearsay. Make your decisions from your heart. And don't make your decisions based on hate and ugliness and your bad feelings for a family. Any family. That's not right. Your decisions should be made from here again.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Okay. For clarity's purposes on this issue, first of all, I want to say thank you, Benny, for making a comment that I think everybody needs to hear, is that any decision that is made here should not be something that impacts you directly. And then I guess I have to thank the comment that was brought up about my family. That proves this isn't about me or them. Thanks for proving that. And with that being said, for clarity's purposes, the people voted in a secretarial election in 2009 affirmatively to state that the Winnebago tribe in its enrollment processes can include the blood of other tribes. The vague language of that election states basically that. So the people of our tribe, regardless of where they live, were given the opportunity to vote on this, and more people voted yes. They wanted to include the blood of other tribes in the applicants for enrollment. What transpired from that, what was also illustrated in our last meeting, and again for clarity, in between the secretarial election of 2009 and when that sitting committee, enrollment committee, brought it forward in 2014, they wrote a memo to that council that council met on the same day. Those dates of the memo and the dates of the resolution are the same. That committee told the council that the influx in the number of applicants was almost 20% of what was before, because a comment was made here tonight. We may not need the other blood because we're over 5,000. As the treasurer of the council in 2008 through 2010, it was my responsibility for calculating our per capita payment / stimulus. In that time period, we did roughly 4,200 people after the secretarial election, up to the point of where the committee wrote the memo to the council in 2014, it jumped by almost 1,000, if not greater. I don't have those numbers right in front of me, but that's why they brought it forward, because again, as I started in the discussion of this section and as stated in the last meeting, there is sentiment among the tribal membership that if you are eligible to be enrolled somewhere else, then those applicants should be enrolled somewhere else. I hope that's clear. What occurred from that point is obvious as well. The resolutions that were passed, first it started out with kids, then it went into adults, and then it included everyone. And that moratorium has been in place since. And as what was stated, because as I started this part of the commentary section with, this has nothing to do with me or my family. But it does have something to do with at least 150 families, quite a few of which I have spoke to personally about this. They are a razor's percentage below the quarter. They live in Winnebago. They work in Winnebago. They are growing up here in Winnebago. They are educated in Winnebago, and we're talking geography. They are contributing members of our community and our tribe. All they want to be is to be included in our membership. Yes, there does have to be a discussion about resources. But if that's all it is to some people, then I find that a little bit appalling. Because my membership in this tribe means way more to me than some material thing or issue. But that's my opinion. That is not necessarily a fact. The facts are out there. This moratorium has been in place since 2014. The next issue, in order to amend our Constitution, you have to have a BIA/Department of Interior secretarial election. That's the reason the word secretarial is used. The Secretary of the Interior mandates the election. In 2009, the people voted in that secretarial election to include the blood of other tribes. If we want that changed, we have to go back through that process. My previous motion to remove the secretarial election is to remove the Department of Interior and the BIA from that process, and then giving it back wholly to the tribe. And by that, I mean the membership. Our tribal code will have to be amended to include exact or similar language to what is in the secretarial election process. All tribal members, regardless of residency, must say yes or no if they are choosing to amend the Constitution. I said this previously publicly. Amending our Constitution should not be an easy thing. It should never be done frivolously. These are all factual statements. So now, the reason why, again, when I started the conversation this evening on this issue, and we're in discussion here, is the discussion needs to begin. Because nothing has been done with it, coming up now on 5 years. Never at any point said, exclude someone from a conversation. In the very first time I brought this up since my appointment to this council, go back to the YouTube video. Look at what was stated in the minutes. The committee was supposed to be invited. There was supposed to be more conversation on this than just simply Brian Chamberlain saying something. But until somebody like Brian Chamberlain says something, this sat here dead for 5 years. My whole point on this is let's do something with it. Because I'm one of those people that believes if an adult is enrolled somewhere else, they should be and stay there. But it's different for a child because they don't have a choice. They're growing up here, they're educated here, they go to this school, and they have a chance to become a member of our tribe, I say let him in. I do not believe in the pedigree. And with that being said, Mr. Chairman, I hope everything is clear and I call for the question.
Okay. The motion is to table this for further discussion. Moved by Rollins, seconded by Coley. Is there any objection to the motion?
Object.
I'll call for the vote. All those who want to table this for further discussion, raise their hand. I'm confused. 6-0, motion carried. Since it's tabled, I do wanna, so we're not gonna deal with this again tonight?
No.
Okay. All right, I will. All right. motion
Before we
passed.
leave the issue, I will make a motion to schedule a joint meeting with the Tribal Enrollment Committee as soon as possible.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Is there any objection to the motion? He seconded.
Yeah,
He said discussion.
discussion,
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I think that's a good motion. I'm glad it was seconded. Cause this is progress.
Immediately?
As soon as possible, because I don't know when they're available and they work.
ASAP, okay.
Can we get a calendar date on this? Or what does suit ASAP, like tomorrow?
The only thing is, because the committee works and they're not just open to come to a meeting at 10:30 on some random day, let's schedule it as soon as we can.
Okay,
Katie,
it's on the record.
I'd like to ask something. The leading up to the secretarial election in, what was that, 2012?
09.
09, okay. There was forums for the community, anybody interested. So could something like that happen again? Because
Yes.
here, you know, I guess a lot of people in town voted. Now that you have to explain to them why we're doing the process again. A couple years later or several years later,
4 years later.
you know? Are we gonna be going through this secretarial election and then 4 years later redo it again?
It don't require a secretarial election to lift the
Well,
moratorium.
I know that, but I'm just making a point. Are we gonna be doing this again every time somebody doesn't like what's going on? And they're gonna throw the whole tribe. Yeah, thank you. So could you include the membership in some kind of meeting?
Yeah.
Because
Chair.
it does affect us
Mr. Chair.
too.
Okay.
The motion on the floor is to schedule the meeting, but in this discussion, if we hold the election to eliminate the election, and yes, I understand how dumb that sounds, there will be an educational process because the Department of Interior requires that. It can't just be, oh, hi, come vote on this today. There will be notice because each individual tribal member will have to be registered to vote, meaning that regardless of where you live, the BIA is gonna contact you and ask, are you an eligible member of the tribe to vote? They have to return some type of correspondence basically saying, yes, I am eligible to vote. That registers you to get to say yes or no. Then the second part is actually asking the question. So to answer your question, yes, education in the
Okay,
process is
I-
required and will be provided.
I guess I knew that, but I just wanted it stated in public.
It is, well, thank you, and it is public if anyone chooses to read that in the regulations of the Department of Interior. It's public as public can be.
Okay, call for the question, Mr. Chair.
Okay, no specific date though, huh?
As soon as possible.
Okay. Is he objection? No objection? Motion carried. Okay.
Yay.
I want to make a comment. It could have been so easy to make a motion to lift the moratorium and allow those who are waiting with Winnebago blood to be admitted to the tribal rolls. It would have been so easy to do that.
Yes, it would have.
And then after that, for those that didn't quite make it and are a razor thin or a drop short of Winnebago blood, if you were to lower the blood quantum to 3/16, those people that didn't make it could make it through that motion to change the blood quantum by 3/16, or even 1/8 isn't all that drastic. I'm sorry, I feel bad that we missed the chance, and I regret that I had to chair this meeting. Okay, that being said, let's go on to tribal council items. Jim Snow, historical marker.
In June of 2018, the Winnebago tribe was invited to participate in an honoring ceremony of the lady relatives that were placed in a stockade at Fort Thompson, South Dakota. And because of the abuse that they received at the hands of the soldiers, they were raped and all that stuff that they went through, but also at that same time, they were thinking about their families because they were hungry and all that. The food was deplorable, so they would get food from the soldiers and do what they had to do to feed their family. But along that thing, when we went to Fort Thompson, and there was some U.S. Fish and Wildlife personnel there, and I asked them if they could direct me to Usher's Landing. And that is the place where the Winnebagos landed when they were removed from Minnesota. And they didn't know anything about Usher's Landing. So that's what this is going to deal with, is that we do a letter to the Corps of Engineers because it's along the Missouri River. I think they manage that with a MOA with U.S. Fish and Wildlife or whoever is in charge of that old Fort Thompson stockade and all those areas, requesting a historical marker there commemorating the Winnebago's tribes landing place in Fort Thompson. That's it. But I contacted the Corps of Engineers office, the Tribal Liaison office, and asked him to direct me in how we go about that process. And that's my item, so we'll start that process.
Jim, is that a resolution or just a letter from the chair?
It's probably just a letter from the chair. I contacted that Joel Ames, the Tribal Liaison officer out of the Omaha District.
Okay.
And he responded back.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to authorize the chairman to issue the letter as requested.
Second. Chairman.
Chairman.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, motion carried. Item number 2, Woodbury County annexation.
Mr. Chair, that is mine. When the flood occurred in 2011, the tribe found itself in a very precarious situation with Winnebago Casino, meaning that the road that enters the casino space from I-29 is a road that is controlled by Woodbury County. At that time, and I don't know the makeup of that board now, but at that time, 3 members of the Woodbury County Board were also members of the Missouri River Historical Development Board or Commission, whatever it is, MIRD. MIRD is the nonprofit partner of the gaming entity in Sioux City. So essentially, we were asking our competition for permission to use the road that accesses our property. So in 2011, because obviously no one was aware that the flood was going to occur because of the rains that occurred that year, after we saved our property from the flood and were extremely lucky that the road didn't deteriorate any further than it did, an effort was supposed to be made at that point to begin the annexation process and the negotiation for that annexation with Woodbury County. But the election of that year occurred, and I did not seek re-election, and so therefore I believe the effort just basically fell dead because no one else remembered to do it. I would like us to begin that process again, because if we are capable of controlling access to our property, I believe that's in our best interests. Because it is going to flood again.
So you have a motion? Is it a consensus that we?
Well, if we need a motion, then with that, I would make a motion to begin, or to, excuse me, let me restate this because I know Coley has to write it, and make a motion to request a meeting with the Woodbury County Board of Supervisors for this purpose.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Discussion.
Colin?
Brian, I want to say thank you for bringing this issue forward in regards to this road and the issues that we continually have to face in regards to our property across the river there. With a great investment that we have over there, a lot of our tribal membership, they go there to find employment and entertainment. So I'm glad that this issue is being brought to the table for discussion. So I think that it's important that we recognize the importance of what we can do as far as this road's concerned, and then furthermore what we need to be looking at to protect our investment. And that's in regards to a berm, a permanent structure around that property, so that we're protecting our investment. We have millions of dollars tied up over there, and it belongs to us. And as the sitting council, it's our job to protect that investment. And we discussed it, and we've also discussed the potential growth of that casino over there, and a expansion. And I think that these are things that first we need to address. That road and then that berm, and then go on down as far as what we would like to get accomplished over there. So I'm glad that you brought this to the table, the attention of this table for discussion in regards to this. So I wanted to make those comments. I think it's important that we should keep our focus on what has to happen for not us, but the membership and those that need those jobs over there, because it's a lot of people's livelihoods depend on this. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your listen.
Any further comments, discussion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, motion passed. Okay, number 3, Ruby Ballinger.
My concern this evening is I want to make you, I'm here to make the council aware again of Winnebago. Okay, I was there Sunday before last. I had breakfast there, and I was trying to use the salt shaker. I have a prop here. And no salt came out, so I opened the lid to see what was going on. And as you can see when I pass this around. I asked the young man that was on the floor if he could get his supervisor, because I wanted to point out the condition of that salt shaker with all that rust in it. And he went back to look for the supervisor. She said she was coming out. A half hour late, I waited 1/2 hour. She did not show, so I said, okay. Well, that evening, I'm there for supper. Different table, different salt shaker, but the same type. And what I noticed is when people were coming in, there was no food in the buffet. They had to keep telling someone to refill, the food area. Okay. Now I was telling this to someone and they brought to my attention, and then I remembered too, that they have seen people walk in there and leave, without ordering. And the reason I am bringing this to your attention is I realize not all of you go out there and eat, or even go out there to be aware of what goes on. And my biggest thing is that, that's one of our biggest money makers. We got to do right by them. Okay, so I didn't get to talk to the supervisor, so I thought, okay, I'll bring it to Marshall's attention. Monday morning, I went to see Marshall. I was told he would not be in. He's golfing, quote, unquote. Okay, so Tuesday I go back. Marshall's not in, and I asked, will he be here? No one knew if he was going to come back or where he was or his whereabouts. So I just thought, okay, I'm going to have to go to the council with this. And like I said, I did talk to a couple council people, showed them the salt shaker. But again, knowing not all of you go out there to know what it's like out there. But my biggest concern, like I said, we're in big competition out there. And if you guys want to keep that money flowing in, you've got to do better with the place. And I'm happy to see on your minutes that you are getting new carpet. That's good to know. And a while back, a few years back, I brought to the attention to Frank Laura. I brought it to the attention of Larry Pear. I brought to the attention of Curtis, may he rest in peace, about you need to redecorate this dining area. There used to be some mirrors there that the Winnebago's paid good money for. And neither one of these individuals could find where those mirrors went. Now, the amount of money that was spent, you probably could say this was some kind of grand larceny. I think over X number of dollars you consider it, because that's a lot of money. Now, if those people couldn't find those mirrors, one showed up after Curtis looked around, just one. And they put that up in the dining room. That is there. But we had about what? I can't even remember, maybe 7, 8 more than that. So we're talking a lot of money here in mirrors. And that's, what I want. And I'm not here trying to get anyone fired. I don't want that. What I'm here for is you people that are in, that the leaders need to know, to be aware, and you've got to make somebody accountable out there, because it seems like no one is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruby.
Thank you. Ruby?
Oh, I gotta get that back.
Yeah, we got a memo saying,
probably get me
saying that was missing and they got you on surveillance, so you better get it back over there. Got her camera now. Okay, thanks, Ruby. Okay, Barb? Marianne?
Since I brought it up first, can I
Okay,
go first?
okay.
Okay. Why not?
Okay, I'm sorry that you guys didn't get the information. I'm glad I made
Motion to
this.
suspend the rules to hear.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she was put on the agenda when we approved it.
Was she?
No.
It's not on here.
No, before we started the meeting, we put it on the agenda.
Oh, okay, I missed that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, added items.
Hmm?
Added, added items.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. All right.
you okay? You're right.
Okay. This is a copy, I'm glad I made copies of at least this one. I'm requesting, again, a resolution from the Winnebago Tribal Council to support the Nebraska, oh, here, you guys, oh, you did get it, okay. 'Cause I mentioned to Teresa that I didn't have the right captions and was wondering if she couldn't, I was curious, you got the resolution, but no other information. And I also wanted to comment on, especially after the other comments made previously about, you know, when you start yelling and stuff like that, and you get, and that's what you get back. And you know, that we should all be respectful of each other. I apologize, this isn't stapled, but this is a summary of my comments, and I'm just going to read them right from this document.
All of this you're gonna read?
It's only, yeah, I'm a fast reader. And because it's important. You know, we've had other, I don't think I'll be as long as you think. But I'm here today to request the adoption of the resolution support Nebraska Indian Ed. We no longer request any funding from the tribe. We will continue to seek private funding to respond to our education needs. I will entertain questions only to that point. Everyone witnessed the verbal attack on me at the TC meeting on August 5th by Councilwoman Ketchian. Her actions demonstrated lack of leadership needed to address serious education issues. But rather than listen, she chose this occasion to launch this petty attack. She nor anyone will intimidate me into stopping the important work I am doing for our children, as no one else is doing it, or in the manner we are doing so. I have updated Tribal Council on my work with the school on numerous occasions. For example, at 3 intertribal consortium meetings and several joint WPS school board and TC meetings. The 6-month plan was an extreme effort to encapsulate my work for fear of repeating myself and in respect of Tribal Council members' time. I am not sure how many of these meetings Tori attended. I only recall seeing her at one. I anticipated questions of substance about education and what can be done to improve. Her asking me numerous times, "Who is this we? Who is this we? Who do you mean by we?" was unexpected, and I admit it caught me off guard. It was hard to answer because, in fact, the majority of the work was done by me. I have a list of work that I've completed since 2015, and I'll get copies to everyone. Starting off with facilitating a strategic planning session, which started at the Boys and Girls Club chapter. So it was hard for me to answer because most of the work was done by me. I innately learned to be modest, not to always say I did this or I did that, or to take credit, as many Indian people do. I see now is the time to do so, and will submit this to the public, and hope the people will at least consider my contributions. I was personally attacked, and so I will share more about who I am and what I really have done through another format. And I developed that list. The question was, at that meeting, was, did I create a job for myself? This seemed to be the issue by that faction as to how she would discredit me. Isn't that what many projects for grants do? Isn't this a result of a strategy when a need is identified and no one there is to implement the change? Isn't this what often happens in business? Jobs are created. And isn't this what the council has done in the past? Isn't this what happens with a good HCI soldier? A job is created for them when they are no longer on the council. I can't help but think it was a joint attack. One can see the look on Brian's face and even his little smile at the end. Grudges are still being held. Some don't see how not having hope and not belonging to the right family continues to promote the we against them feeling that is undermining and dividing our community. The answer is yes, we receive funding to hire an executive director. And yes, I was hired in this position in June because who else had a better background of the work? Who completed the work this far? Who did the networking and collaborating relationships that were built? Or who has the vision for our children? Who else has brought our children's dire education status to the governing bodies that be? Who else spoke up for our children when the Omaha World Herald bashed all of our Indian schools? I don't see myself doing this work long term. In fact, I addressed a group of Native teachers in Santee the week before. I told them I was there to demonstrate they could have input into future Nebraska Department of Ed standards revisions and to show them how to do it, not do it for them. Since the talk about jobs was brought up, I have to ask who let the current emergency education status of our children happen? Why weren't we alerted to it earlier? Granted, this is a complex issue, but why do we always let things get to a critical status or to a state of emergency before we address it? I admit our goals are our Nebraska Indian Ed goals are more expansive and include Native children living off the reservation, because as many of you who attended the Intertribal Coalitions know, more than half of our children, Native children in Nebraska, are attending off-reservation schools. We are not going to forget them. No matter where your political or family loyalties lie, one has to objectively ask themselves this question: how did it get so bad? Why weren't other strategies tried? Many before me received salaries to improve our children's education. So perhaps the question should be what was done with those salaries rather than my creating a job for myself. Our children deserve better. And no matter where your political or family loyalties lie, one has to objectively ask themselves, what if they were on the end of the political attacks for speaking their mind or for bringing up inequities? You may be the next one on the list. Now a closer look at the school board members, as to what the school board members said. And I believe this was not the majority. I addressed the school board on August 9th and requested the board take a professional approach and speak with me if they had questions instead of gossiping. Yes, I attended 20 state meetings and conferences. On only 1 or 2 of these meetings did I receive per diem or mileage. To save money, I used a school gift card and reimbursement costs only. And in fact, this would be a great cost-saving move for all tribal council who travel consistently. These meetings are not included on the list of activities and work I accomplished since 2015 on behalf of our children. I recall stating I was like a bowl of rice at a raisin in a bowl of rice at state meetings. But no matter how I was initially treated, it was critical I learned how business is conducted with NDE, the State Board Association, and all of the laws included. I was not working, so I had the opportunity to do so, as many other board members could not. And because of this, I was more visible to those people, and that's how we pushed our Indian education agenda ahead. I attended approximately 5 National Impact Aid conferences. On Wednesday, September 27, 2017, I went to the Nebraska breakfast, and approximately 15 days after that, Senator Fisher joined our Impact Aid Coalition at the federal level. The comment about me having a desk set up for myself at the school is so petty and ridiculous, it tells me this is just someone with animosity towards me personally, and not about the work I've completed for our children. Just making blatant statements without checking facts or trying to understand causes me to question their motives. Or is this a continued family vendetta? Here is the fact. While I was doing some of the work detailed in my timeline throughout 2017 and 2018, I did much of it at the school, at a desk, using a desktop in the boardroom. When the offices were rearranged, a desk was moved to the front office, and I was told it was for me. And everyone joked about it, that it was Marion's desk because I was spending so much time there before. I never asked anyone to move this desk or call it mine, and was surprised it happened. But just another petty attack. Perhaps it could have been when I voted no to start a golf program. I know I did not make any friends when I commented that the efforts to start this program would be better spent on academics. Not the first time I set myself up for backlash, retribution, and even ridicule, but my children are worth it. And I'm not going to read all of this, but in regards to the press release from Darren Wolf, I have a long history in tribal consultation. And actually that's how this whole ESSA, this whole thing started, was because ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act, which replaced the No Child Left Behind Act, requires tribal consultation within that act. And my question was, how did this happen? I have documents that indicate Dr. Ryan Four went to the Nebraska Indian Commission, and that's how they were going to satisfy tribal consultation. Well, I know unless it's set up unless all of those requirements are met, that's not real tribal consultation.
Marion,
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt you.
No, that's okay.
But I see further down in here, you're really slamming a lot of people for.
Yeah, I was slammed.
And I don't think this is the place to do it, especially if you're wanting a resolution from this council to support what you're doing with the Nebraska Indian Education Program.
I am responding in kind to how I was treated at this table. Nobody stopped it.
Well,
Maybe you should have, talked about that then.
yeah, but you're hitting on a lot of people.
Well, I was attacked
I don't think
also.
it's fair. You even hit on a situation about children, and that
What is
gets
that?
it's touchy. I don't care
What do you mean?
I don't care to go into detail, but I think what you want would be best served if you were positive rather than negative. That's my opinion as a chair.
Yeah, and I thought about that approach too, but then am I supposed to let myself continue to be treated like this? What's your
Well,
answer to that?
But saying that about so many people,
About,
are they all wrong in the way they were?
yes.
Yeah.
Darren is, I never said anything. He's saying that I was speaking up for the Omaha people, that I was speaking for the Omaha people. I never did that. I would never presume to do that. Like I say in this memo, I've been on over 115 reservations.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the differences in our people. I would never try to speak up for any one nation.
I guess to help you
How,
foster
you
up.
know, when people slam me, am I supposed to just sit here and take it?
No, but I think some of the people that you're slamming should be here to hear it.
That wasn't the way it was done for me, to me.
If you really want support on this, I think you should hit right to the point and see what kind of support you can get for this resolution. It's kind of not fair, for one thing, for Tori, Darren, and all these other people.
Where was the fairness when she was attacking me? Who said, let's stick to the point, let's ask questions regarding the issues?
Well, I think
Well, I didn't know she was going to be here.
if I remember correctly, Frank chaired that meeting, and I think he could have brought it up if you were being mistreated. I think he would have done it.
First time I've heard that that's happened.
Okay.
When she attacks people at this meeting and nobody ever speaks up.
Anyway, I guess for best results, turn to the positive side so we can address this resolution.
So the positive side is we want to form Nebraska Indian Ed, as I said at many, many intertribal coalition meetings and all of our joint tribal council and school board meetings. We want to ensure that our children learn about the many positive contributions Native Americans have made to our society, including input into the U.S. Constitution. Not many people know that. So we have been advocating at the state level for years. We've got the attention. We went to the State Board of Education, got a lot of positive feedback for them. When the time for the revisions, the social studies standards revisions, not curriculum, as Mr. Wolf referred to, takes place, it's taking place now. We were alerted to that and gathered a group of Native teachers from Santee and from this area, and they sat down and got input together and submitted it. Even before this, we had that input, there were a lot of positive changes that you could see in the proposed revisions. I think that was a direct impact of our advocacy efforts at all levels. I sent a question.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Mhm.
if I may.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you to our tribal member for her concerns with in regards to our children's education. And I feel quite strongly that the Native perspective must be heard when it comes to social studies and the history books of this country. You have a biased, skewed history that's not entirely accurate, and for Nebraska state legislative unicameral not recognizing that does a great injustice to all of the Native Americans within this state. And so I would like to see this resolution supported. So I would want to make that motion, Mr. Chair, that we support this resolution so that we could support that endeavor to make sure that our perspective as Winnebagos and Omahas and Santees and Poncas, as well as the Iowa, because as I understand it, they too live in the state of Nebraska, and they have their own history that needs to be heard. So I would like to make that motion in support of this resolution. Motion to adopt. Resolution to support the Nebraska Indian Education Association.
What if you get a bill from them for $50,000?
From who?
That could be support. If we pass this resolution to support Nebraska
But this
Indian
resolution
education,
makes no-
support it in what way? Monetarily?
No, we want to ensure that there are that the council lets their education director know, and or whoever else might be involved in education at this level, to participate and attend Nebraska Indian Ed Association meetings once we're formed and a board is seated, so that they will be able to bring the education issues from Winnebago to that level, and that they can be discussed, and all of those people, representatives from the tribes sitting on that board, can have input. That was always that's why we've spent so much time, almost 2.5 years, in trying to get the input from the tribal governments because of that respect for sovereignty. I've worked with student council members trying to build up the leadership efforts at the school level, because they're going to be our leaders someday. Why do they have to wait until they get to this table to learn about the issues?
Chairman, I have a question. This Indian Ed Association, is that their main goal, is just to see that something gets in the social studies books about Indians?
That's one thing, because that's a topic that's that's here today. But it's going to be up to that membership, those board of directors, to decide. These have just all been all of our efforts to get it organized. It's not me, it's just that there's a small group organizing it. Ruby, you were on that board before.
Well, I was on, we worked just with the national, we didn't try this, the community thing. What my question
No, you were-
is, Jeff, got it, my question was, if that's the main concern, who on there can talk about academics? Because the way I'm looking at it now, and the way I've looked at it before, now I had four children, all 4 of them graduated from Winnebago. Lord knows how many grandkids graduated. And this year I had my second great graduate from Winnebago Public, so I do have a concern. And what I've noticed from the tribal council is that your health programs, your alcohol programs, they all go up there and get a space and a time. But that is taking away academic from our kids. And you look at our state scores, where are we? And that's been going on. Nothing's been changed. I mean, by talking about, Geronimo and whoever. Yes, we need to know that, but we gotta zero in on those academics, and I don't hear that from your education association.
Well, at the local level, I've tried, I've been pushing literacy. When I spent that short time as a grant writer here in the Planning and Development Department, I have a memo I sent to Amy at the time, Amy LaPointe, saying that, after some kicking and screaming, I just got the go-ahead to submit an education grant to help the tribe put a education grant together for literacy, because I've been, literacy is key. That's a foundation.
And where does this money go? To the public school?
What money?
A grant. You gotta
we didn't, we had 6 or 7 days to put it together. But the point I was trying to make is nobody else was looking at doing that. So literacy is key. You know, you're talking about things going on for a long time up there, and that's true. After I was pushing this literacy, I just recently found out we did not have an English language arts program at the school. You know, this robotics class, I pushed that for 2 or 3 years before they actually did it last year. Now, I guess, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how to get through to leadership there, administration, but yeah. So now, because of the Parent 6 committee members, I attended meetings with them, and I asked them if they were familiar with block scheduling, which is not a new idea. I mean, it's been around for 18, 20 years. And they liked it, and they whatever. So I proposed it again and was told that, no, it couldn't be done, it couldn't be done. You know, it's too much whatever, just excuses. But in fact, there is going to be, I think it's the 5th and 6th grade that are trying block scheduling. That some people didn't even know, the administration didn't know. So my concern was that, you know, we should really monitor that and support those teachers in that, because it's had positive results across the country. I don't know why we can't do it.
Also, you know, like you said, I did work with Hope School for a while. Administrators up there are afraid of the Indian people, and the top administrators are non-Indians. They are afraid of us. For whatever reason, they're afraid of you guys, they're afraid of parents. They don't want parents, because parents will go up there and drop them, you know, I mean, that's just the way we are, I guess. But they are afraid. They don't want to step on nobody's toes. That's why they let all these programs in. Again, that takes away from our academic. And that's what bothers me. And you guys gotta remember, that is a public school. It's not a tribal school, it's not an Indian school, and it'll never be one. It's a public school receiving public funds. So somewhere, the council and we as the people out here kind of got to step back and let the educators know, and let them go with it, because they know.
Well, see, and that's
no educator.
And I think that's part of what the school board needs to oversee too, because the educators don't know. We you know, I won't say who, but they didn't know anything about assimilation until last October when they attended Nebraska, the National Indian Ed. They actually said it at the table.
They don't know about Indians because they are a public school. That, you know, that's not what they come in with to teach up here.
But that's the local control that is talked about. As long, you know, it's, you know, we're 15 years behind the times. Everybody else is doing Oklahoma, Montana, Oregon, Wisconsin, New Mexico, Washington, Oregon, Wyoming, and of course Minnesota. You just have to look at the data, and I guess I could get some of that together too. But yeah, our children are scoring anywhere from 35 to 40 percentiles lower than, sometimes they're on the level, the same level with children with disabilities. And that does take the whole community. You know, I know before we were told that that's the school board's propriety, but it takes everybody.
Okay.
So
I'd like, Jim, you want to say something?
No.
Okay. I'd like to see if there's a motion to support this resolution.
there's,
Is there a second?
I made the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that discussion.
Motion's been made and second for discussion.
To have a seat at the table on that Nebraska Indian Education Board, you know, that's where you can tell them what we need here. You know, looking at our scores and what can they do? How can they help us? And previously, was it an office out of Wakefield, ESU one?
ESU one, yep.
Yeah, they had a grant for the tribes where all of the tribes involved, Omaha, Winnebago, Santee, all of them. I think Kathy Campbell worked in there, and each tribe had to develop their own curriculum. And the Winnebago tribe was, maybe 2 years ahead in developing that plan. And ESU guys out of Wakefield came over and met, and they asked the Winnebago tribe if they would slow down, let the other tribes catch up. But, they submitted a plan that was acceptable, So,
Well, don't forget that pre-K through post-secondary education curriculum that was developed by the tribe and the school in like 91 and 92, that was instigated by the Head Start program, because we were teaching words, vocabulary, not the language. We were teaching vocabulary to our students. And then parents would even come and say, they're saying this, I don't know what it means. But we were able to affect change by getting policy council members elected to the school board. Daphne was one of them, Terry Medina, and Randy DeCora. They were all previous Head Start policy council members, and they went down there and they passed that. And they made it happen. So, we have been ahead of the game a little bit, but that's just in our community. Now we need to, educate everybody.
All right, thank you. I'm going to finish now.
Oh, sorry.
Currently, I think the Winnebago Public Schools is in the third year of a grant, that curriculum development, from the 7th grade all the way up to the high school, to start, helping the kids. What do you want to do when you leave here? Starting at that, 7th grade all the way up. Let's say, what do you want to do when you graduate? Do you want to go in the military? Do you want to go to college? All of these things that are helping them. And then if they say, well, I want to go to college, then they start helping with their courses. This is what the classes that you need to have, to get accepted into college. So they're about on the third year of that grant. I think it's about the third year. I know when you go out there to meet with the school board in our meetings like that, they give us that information of the progress of that grant, and that's through the state of Nebraska. That's just an update for your information.
Marion, could this resolution to support Nebraska Indian Education Association, could it possibly mean financial?
No. I mean, I'm thinking that's what's preventing, that's what prevented it last time, so we took that out. We
So
can
what
do
kind
it.
of what kind of support would you be looking for from the council?
Again, just to make sure that, and Amy and I have worked together on this. We've talked about the Indian Education for All Act. I made presentations at those forums but whatever it's called, those meetings that she's been having. And she actually attended a group of people from Nebraska that went to Montana to learn more about that Indian Education for All, and its, and how it benefits children and teachers, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I would hope that, I imagine she would be appointed to that as the Winnebago representative. And, I look forward to really working with her on that. Because it doesn't mean that I'm going to be a board member any longer if I'm not going to be designated by tribal government.
Mm-hmm. I'm just afraid that it's too vague. Resolution to support. It can encompass a whole bunch of things. A facility for you to occupy, a vehicle to use for doing your business. And this could be taken to the other three tribes. Say, look, the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska is supporting it and want a similar resolution. And
Well, we already have.
Really, I think it's soliciting in a cloud. We don't really know what we're going to get for our resolution. No?
No.
Okay.
Again, I want you to refer back to those numerous documents I presented to the Nebraska Intertribal Council. And we presented there first because we thought, okay, this is a great forum to address all 4 tribes at once. And it was well received, and actually the Intertribal Council passed their resolution to support us on May 7th in Norfolk. So there's all that resolution's already in existence. And then, we were told that we should go ahead and go back to the other tribes and get individual support. I don't know if you want to clarify that a little bit more, but there's nothing in there that refers to monetary support.
Okay.
You could probably get those minutes from Teresa of that meeting, the Nebraska Intertribal Coalition meeting.
Yeah.
You could probably get that resolution of support.
Yeah.
from
The last I talked with her was, anyway, she was waiting to get that back from Ponca tribe.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Who's out there? On this issue, first of all, going back to my notes, this was not on the agenda, but I'll leave that because we've been discussing it. The second is, despite what was going to be claimed, I'm sure from this point forward, I'm not including my support for this motion at this time, simply because, as was stated earlier in a like scenario with the enrollment, the tribe's organization has not been involved in my understanding. And if there's a council member here who can speak more, I guess, factually to that, then please put that out there. The tribe's education department, I believe, doesn't know anything about this, much less endorse it. We haven't received any kind of communication or discussion from the department through the CEO that I'm aware of. And since this doesn't seem to be an old issue that goes back beyond the middle of July, I tend to believe that this is something that still needs a little bit more time. So it's not a matter of disrespect to the motion and the second. It's a matter that this is something that the organization still needs to have the opportunity to at least see.
Jeannie?
Well, no, Brian kind of covered what I was going to say, that, like I said before, just question, talk about it, that it is vague. They're asking for your support, but they don't tell you what they want you to support. And it could be money. And some of them, some organizations, they charge a lot of dues.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, if you're gonna vote, yes on this, could you put in there for a trial basis on something? Because if it doesn't work out in a certain amount of time, then you could just toss it. Or try to make it better.
See, and I understand everybody doesn't have all of the facts yet. We just moved to develop our own website, and we should have it up within 7 or 8 days. But this, again, is not a new project. We were the first Nebraska Indian Ed, which I said many times at the Intertribal Coalition meetings, was formed on June 22nd, 1987, by Reba Whiteshirt, by Alfred Gilpin, and by Art Hill, Sr. And we were in existence for quite some time. Again, I was a driving force. When I got elected to the National Indian Education Association, then something had to give, and, there were plenty of people to carry that on. Well, apparently, it wasn't the case, and it just sort of fizzled out. when I learned about that later, I said, why didn't somebody email me? Why didn't somebody let me know? I would have tried to keep it going. But at that time, it was all volunteer. Everything was volunteer. And we could have been more effective if we had, somebody manning the ship.
Okay, I'm gonna call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's a tie. I'm gonna vote no at this point. Motion failed.
Can the council let me know what their plans are then to address our educational needs for our children?
Can we let you know what?
Yeah, let me know what your plans are to address the educational needs of our children.
Oh, I don't think we're in a position to do that. That's up
Well,
to-
not now, not right now, but
Yeah.
in the future.
But that's up to the school, isn't it?
Again, it's everybody getting together. I don't,
Yeah.
that's why we've been having those joint council school board meetings, because everybody needs, we're in dire straits with our children. Granted, we are improving. Things are getting better. But what I will do is go ahead and yes, I did, I got this resolution together sort of last minute because I don't know where the other one went. And so I will try again. I'm not going to be so easily
Yeah.
dissuaded, and I'll get a better written, more comprehensive resolution.
I think that other,
and I'll try
I
it
think
again.
that other one was better than this one.
Yeah, because I know it spoke about the percentiles too,
Yeah.
and that state of emergency that, after those test scores were released on December 21st.
Mhm.
That's when we couldn't wait any longer, and we just went into action.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, point of order, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to hear Barbara Eagle.
I don't know why you guys are doing that. We put them on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting.
No, we didn't. They came in after we started, Kenny.
Okay.
You wrote them down, but
we discussed it.
but it wasn't actually added when we approved the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
one moment, please.
Wait, there's a motion on the floor to suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there, okay. Okay. Rollin, open
Okay.
for discussion.
With that being said, I would like to please remind, nothing against you, with all respect, Barbara, that we're currently waiting for your request, your appeal request at DHD, and that hasn't come through yet.
This has nothing to do with that right now.
Okay, is this a whole separate matter?
It leads to that, and then I'll end when it leads to
Well,
that.
and then the other thing that needs to be brought out before you come to this podium is that there was a confidentiality agreement, and I don't want you to breach that.
That's why I was gonna ask for executive session because of that.
Okay.
refers to
Very good.
termination of the DHP
Okay. You need a motion?
Before you guys go, I wanted to say this before.
We're not gonna be in executive session.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Are we?
I asked for it.
She's asking for you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
I don't either.
just a second,
And the motion is still
I don't
pending.
see anything, for anybody doing, even the tribal council doing anything for our kids, like in a tutorial, type of thing where they can go to get help. And some of your financing would be well spent if you could do that for people that can tutor our kids. I tried to show one of my grandsons how to read a ruler, and he couldn't do it. So, I mean, it's things like that. We're way below percentile, so why aren't we thinking about things like that.
Well,
That's it.
on a scholastic scale, I know that we're the third lowest, and the other two are Macy and Walt Hill, so doesn't say
Well,
much for our school system.
I know of a society that uses a basement in the church that tutors, Indian kids in the city of Chicago. And there's one child that's being tutored by a college professor, and she's only 7 years old. She's pretty smart.
There's a motion on the floor.
Okay. The motion to go into executive session?
No, the motion to suspend the rules was not voted on.
Okay. Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Yeah, there are more.
Ryan and then Louis.
Okay. All right, is there any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Okay. Barbara, you're up, and you want to go into executive session?
Yes.
Is there a motion to go into executive session?
On behalf of you guys, now I guess, you know, before when you guys had these meetings, people got up, just walked up here and talked to you guys, all of you. They just got up here and started talking. And you let them come up here and talk. Tribal members can talk to this tribal council if they want to because they're voting members. Not because him or you set rules. You don't set rules like that. If Barbara wants to talk to you on a certain issue, then she should be able to. She should be able to. We're voting members, all of you guys. It's not an issue of cutting family down, cutting issues down. Oh, what the council meetings on there saying that people come up here and talk. And then in that time, you guys even voted for these people. And then you continued on with your, whatever you guys were doing at that meeting. I have it here, in here, up here. And that's what's going on now. So, and that's what I'm saying. And I want these people to hear me. Because that's what happened here.
Mr. Chair,
Give her a chance to talk.
Brian?
I'll wait till he's done.
Give her a chance to talk. Well, you guys
I thought you guys were trustworthy. But you know what? Standing here, I'm gonna tell you, changed my mind right now. Changed my mind right now. I had respect for all of you. But how do you say resent? It's a famous word with you guys, what?
Mr. Chair.
Jeannie, she can speak. We
Well,
just-
I know,
we
I know.
did-
You know, but, okay, you let her, you voted on it, you let her get up here and talk, okay. You give everybody, and I know because I sat there. I was a member of this body. You give everybody a chance. Every tribal member a chance to speak however they want to, present however they want to. She asked for executive session. She should not be denied an executive session, especially from this body. Maybe a committee or a board from somewhere, but not this body. Because this is where the buck stops. This is where it's all laid out. Everything's put on the table. However, the presenter wants to present it. And if you people don't know that by now, we're in dire straits then. Common courtesy. She's a tribal member in dire straits. And she come to you to be heard. And you denied her. You said, get up and speak. But like that. What kind of governing is that? What kind of fiduciary responsibility is that? You know, I would be up here saying it for anybody, saying exactly what I'm saying. Because it's wrong what you people did. It's wrong. Wrong.
Mr. Chair, I had my hand up first, so excuse me, Mel. First of all, Barb's ability to speak about whatever issue she was going to bring forward, which was a mystery to me as I relayed to her just a few moments ago, has not been impaired in any way. It has not been restricted. What is being asked for, though, is an executive session, and it has not happened around this table a lot, and I guess I'm happy to bring this forward, and you guys, I will hope, will appreciate this, and it's the word integrity. Then that means that the purpose of executive sessions are supposed to be where you're handling something private, such as a personnel issue. There's a personnel issue which will potentially be coming to this table, and it would be premature and inappropriate for this council to hear it at this time. And I think that we should be able to respect this process, because if you understand where I come from, then you understand that I will always honor the processes first, meaning that the people who are in them should be given the benefit of the doubt. Now, if there is an issue outside of the personnel issue, like I said a few moments ago, let's have that discussion. But if it is in relation to that, then unfortunately I don't think we should hear that at this time. That doesn't mean that at some point later on, after it is adjudicated or after the decision is made, that it can't be brought here. It means that right now, tonight, today, whatever you want to say, that that's not the right way to do it. Executive session means something to someone like me, not a willy-nilly frivolous thing that gets handed out across the board just because someone wants to have a private conversation with the council. And I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but you've seen that just as well as I have, and anyone who's sat here has seen it. It gets abused. I'm not someone that's going to hand that out. And that's, I'm not done. That's what I'm saying. If there is a separate issue, then bring it forward. If there's names within it, then that's another thing. It should be something that's entirely different, and that's my point in this. And if you don't want to hear it, or you don't want The council doesn't want to do that, that's their decision. I'm one of 9. But I made the motion to place whatever issue this is on the table. And if that can't be recognized, then I guess I don't know what else to say.
Well, we do thank you for that,
Thank you.
for putting it on the table. But, you know, it's like getting a left-handed compliment. You know, okay, you can come up here and we'll vote on it and you can talk, but and there lies the slap in the face, I guess.
Mel, I'm gonna.
And I respect your integrity. I really do.
Thank you, I
But,
appreciate that.
you know,
I understand.
you know, I'm looking for the right word here. Without insulting the body. That you just don't do that. You don't say, okay, come up here, we voted, you can come up here and talk. But put your hand over your face. Cover your mouth. You know?
Then they must.
Let her tell you what she wants to tell you. It's not like a little kid tattling on somebody. You know, give her some benefit of a doubt that she knows what she's doing. She's an educated woman who's worked, you know, a long time supporting herself and her family. She's a single parent, and she's trying to look out for herself and her kids. That's all she's trying to do. She's not trying to do a hatchet job on anybody.
Jeannie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna allow her to speak. I wanna hear Mel's response first, but I'm gonna allow her to speak.
All I was willing to hear her speak, we just don't live stream it. We can't. There's gonna be leading up to some issues that Roland had pointed out. That's all I ask.
I
Mr.
see.
Chairman. Yeah, thank you, Brian. You know, what Brian is talking about is the Winnebago tribe, all of our programs, and the thing that we adopted is policies and procedures, and for us to walk over those things like that would before this thing is complete, you know, it wouldn't be right. And so I wanted to say that, you know, that we a whole tribal organization, there's a book that we have and they go by that and everything is covered in there. Sick leave, annual leave, and terminations and everything like that. All of the department heads had input into those documents, and then it was brought forward. Department head directors, HR, everybody looked at it, and then draft was seen and it was brought to the table, and we adopted it. And then for all of these things where that process has not been completed, you know.
As long as you remember, there's two sides to every story, too.
Okay, Benny, I'm gonna allow Barb to speak, but it can't be an executive session. Okay, we'll hear you.
Well, now that I got to, so thank you and I appreciate it. I wasn't going to talk about what exactly happened, all I wanted to do was paint you my picture to an extent, but also paint you a picture with an ending date and why I've been trying to come here. Because for one, when this happened to me, I got a gag order put on me. And that was very frustrating because I couldn't say anything.
Has that gag order been lifted, Barb?
In a letter, no. So on the other hand, my DHD hearing is 10/2/19. Now look at that date. Why wasn't a DHD meeting scheduled in September for this grieving process? I was once a DHD person that was on a committee that heard grievances. We could be called at any point to come in and hear a grievance from a tribal employee that was exited, if need be. That is policy. Now, 10/2 is going to be after everyone knows everything. And apparently you all know everything right now.
Barb, I know almost nothing.
We don't.
That's
Okay,
why I
then.
didn't know what your issue was today, because everything or anything even related to it has never come before me. It's not something I've even rejected or refused to see. It's just not something that is brought to this table, to my email, to my desk in no way, shape, or form.
See, and that's what I'm talking about too. Nobody knows. Because there was that gag order and they kept it too. Anyway, you know, and that was really frustrating because I have to wait. And then I have to wait for a new council to go through this, and they're not going to know. Or maybe not even care to know what happened to a tribal employee, Winnebago enrolled tribal employee. That's really what I wanted to say. I don't have a problem talking in front of everyone and letting them know, because I hope none of this happens to a tribal member. I even try to prevent it. You can't help policy. I followed policy as a director. Yes, I had to. Things happen. Not in my control then, even. I didn't want to do that. I'm not out to do that. So, really, that's the question I was going to ask. Could I come forward prior to this, or could DHD hear it before October 2? You're her boss.
Her meaning who? Okay, okay. All right. Thank you.
Just to gather them up and go through the process, so if I have to come here, then I can. And present everything I have. I didn't bring it tonight because I knew. But I have things too.
Your hearing with the board directors is October 2nd.
Yes.
After that, you can come to us.
Well, after that is a new council. Correct?
Not till the 8th.
Well, still. The 4th and 3rd.
October 2nd is when her hearing's going to be.
I have the letter with the date on it.
No, gee, I'm trying to stay on a week
No,
longer.
I thought it was October 1st.
No,
Tuesday.
Tuesday, October 1st. Somebody switched something. The election is Tuesday, October 1st.
Exactly.
okay. All right.
My point.
Okay. why I thought the 8th. I don't know.
So then I would come in after that is my point, third, fourth on, that's why I said that. And a whole new, and you know, that would be more frustrating because then it is. When I want it, what's going on now with the current everyone that knows across the board, possibly. And keep it today and not next year, so to speak. And that's all I wanted to say, even that way.
Any questions, anybody? Okay, Barb,
Is there-
thanks for the manner in which you presented it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, or I will, with that being said and the information now being revealed of what it is, I will make a motion to authorize the vice chairman to inquire with the tribe CEO what the delay is. Or, excuse
Why
me,
do you want
what,
the vice chair to do it?
because the chairman isn't here.
Maybe he'll be here tomorrow.
Well, any one of the
I will.
executive members.
That's a motion, I will.
And I want to rephrase that to inquire what the timeline is, because it may not be delayed, so,
Okay,
even though Barb feels that it is.
okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any objection to the motion? Call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-2. Brian, did you vote?
Yep, I vote yes.
4-2. Motion passed.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Is there a second? Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passed. Thanks for bearing with me, Council.
Yep.
I wish I could have spoken more
Thank you.
about enrollment.
Yep.
Barb, I'll try to get back to you by the end of the day tomorrow.
Okay. Willie and Teresa have my phone number.
Okay.
Thank you.
Adjourn at 7:42.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.